Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate this very important hearing that we're having. Mr. Weiss, I agree with my colleague that the way out of this obviously is growth. And Puerto Rico has at times sought to become a party to various U.S. income tax treaties, and yet the Treasury Department has turned down these efforts. Given the dire circumstances, would you support or do you favor a change in policy in this regard?
Congressman, the immediate problem is the unsustainable debt, and there is nothing that can be done with respect to tax policy or even health care, as dire as that is, that will remedy the fact that $70 billion of debt against a $70 billion economy that consumes 35% of revenues has to be reset.
I understand that, but my question is, would you support a change in policy?
As to the opportunities to promote growth, once that's been done and once there's an oversight board in place, I mean, we would be happy to work with you and your staff about potential solutions that could attract jobs, that could incentivize
work. All right, you're going far beyond yes/no answers with this. It was a relatively simple question. It's becoming clear to me and to many others that the emerging consensus around Congress is that there should probably be a control board, much less consensus regarding federal bankruptcy protection. You may or may not be familiar. Do you know whether or not the District of Columbia got Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection 20 years ago?
District of Columbia was a fiscal crisis as opposed to a debt crisis. Mayor Williams has testified.
Again, that's not my question. Did they get bankruptcy protection?
They got a fiscal control board because that attacked the problem they have. Here we have an economy drowning in debt, which requires restructuring along with oversight.
That's true. Do you believe a control board of some sort could be effective in reorganizing Puerto Rico's finances without filing Chapter 9 bankruptcy?
To be clear, we're not proposing Chapter 9 or any new chapter of the code. We're proposing a territorial act which would allow for restructuring authorities only by acting through and with an oversight board. And it's our judgment that that is the only combination that can produce a durable solution. We don't want to be sitting back here July 2nd or July 5th after Puerto Rico has failed to pay $2 billion, including $800 million of constitutionally prioritized debt, which would provoke a constitutional crisis and litigation. Our interest is in designing a permanent solution. And it just has to be said, yes, there's been fiscal mismanagement. Yes, there's need for oversight. But this debt has to be reduced.
It does. Let's go on. You're taking my time. The question was, do you believe a control board would be helpful? And you've still not answered that question, yes or no?
We believe an oversight board coupled with restructuring would be effective.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. You talk about restructuring. Before any restructuring takes place, wouldn't it be good to have some real numbers, such as something that would come from an audit of the finances, which has not taken place now in quite some time?
I mean, we agree that the fiscal transparency is totally inadequate, and one affirmative obligation we would put on the oversight board, if Congress agreed, would be actual powers to make sure that the financial reporting systems are integrated, are modernized, the audits are produced on a timely basis, and we think that that's necessary for all stakeholders, debtors, investors,
Weiss, you ramble a lot. These are not complicated questions. Can we expect an audit? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay. What kind of progress is being made on that? At what point can we expect an audit?
Our understanding is that there has been a draft audit released and that the auditors have announced that they need 2 months to review it. It should be no surprise that an entity in distress has difficulty getting going concern opinions for its subchapters. This is the set of issues that Puerto Rico is facing. It is a distressed entity.
Time has expired. I would appreciate more yes, no's, direct answers, but I yield back. Thank you, sir.